Jeremy and Aaron are two teens that went missing over 20 years ago and were recently found by a YouTuber. Y'all, a lot of these cases are now being solved by YouTubers. I'm over here like, well, maybe these sheriff's departments should look into hiring these YouTubers, just to be on standby for these missing person cases. Or they need to hire somebody with more, I don't know what you would call it. I don't want to say intelligence, but you get what I'm saying? Because a lot of these missing person cases go cold, and in a lot of people's opinions is because the law enforcement that is on the case drops the ball or doesn't do enough. But whatever the case is, these two teens were recently found. I do want to include the news clip because it was a very good interview that the reporter done with the family, the sheriff's department. I'm just going to include it right here, and then we're going to read an article with the Washington Post to kind of learn more about this case.
There's always that place in town we pass without giving it much thought. We see it all the time, so it's hard to imagine we've missed anything. For as long as most remember here in Sparta, that's all anyone thought about this stretch of Highway 84. What they missed has been missed for more than 21 years.
Whoa. Okay. That's 100% a car right in front of my face.
What happened? What could have happened to two young kids that just vanished in the night?
We know there were always rumors about what happened to 18-year-old Aaron Foster and 17-year-old Jeremy Bechtel on the night of April 3rd, 2000. Foster was the perfectionist and Bechtel was the athlete, two White County High School best friends who cared about each other and their families.
I called home on Monday night and my wife told me that, Aaron didn't come home last night.
Cecil Foster told his wife not to worry about their daughter. Aaron was 18 after all and already talked about moving out, but then one night turned into another, and that's when panic sunk in.
It's just a nightmare, man. Just a total nightmare.
Theories were all over the board by the time Steve Page was hired as a detective in 2011. He was elected sheriff in 2018, and that's when he thought maybe something was overlooked.
We had what we thought were leads in other areas that we explored, and I was like, this just don't make sense.
At some point, you decided to start over, look at all the documents again.
I went gathering all the information I could get here at the office and asking Investigator Isom, for his information, and I came across one piece of paper.
Still, investigators were fixated on the idea that a party on the west end of the county was somehow involved. In a way, they were right. But a newly uncovered missing persons report, likely piled on by years of tips, theories, and suspects,
it would have been the very first document to the case,
gave deputies every reason to rethink this entire investigation.
She had picked up her younger brother and asked her mother if she could stay out a little while later than normal. She was accompanied by Jeremy Bechtel.
Based on this document, it says they were coming from their home, Aaron's home,
yes, not
from the party.
Right.
Which means all this time, detectives focused on the wrong end of the county instead of here.
So I want to search this water really good.
So when YouTube investigator and cold case connoisseur Jeremy Sides just happened to take interest late last year.
Hey, is this Sheriff Page?
It is.
Page knew exactly where to send him.
I told Jeremy, I said, I believe they went missing off of Highway 84.
Best known for his YouTube channel Exploring with Nug, the Georgia native used sonar to scan bodies of water. He crossed off 2 other lakes for good measure before eventually taking the sheriff's advice, where he made the discovery of a lifetime.
What are the chances? What are the chances? Oh no, I'm lost for words. We're good. Here comes the car again. We went right over it.
Sides dove in the next day, where he confirmed that this was indeed a Pontiac Grand Am, the very same model driven by Aaron Foster the night she went missing.
Of course, I'm shocked. And I'm like, really? I didn't believe it till I got there.
First things first, brother.
Oh yeah?
This is amazing, man. We've been looking for these 2 kids forever.
Now with a license plate in hand, Sheriff Page called dispatch.
473 Echo John Robert. Is that the Fosters? Okay, we found the car. I'm hugging Jeremy and thanking him, you know.
Hey, you just became White County's hero, trust me.
That's awesome. I'm lost. I'm lost for words. I'm so glad I could find him.
Both Aaron and Jeremy's remains were found inside the car that was almost completely intact. Sheriff Page says all indications are they simply ran off the road. So after 2 decades, it was time to give Cecil the call he'd been waiting on. What was going through your mind when you got that call?
Just a numb feeling. I don't think in my mind that I actually believed it.
I've cried with the family, you know, because you can feel their pain, you know, because I mean, after not knowing something for 21 years, and then all of a sudden it comes to they've been right here the whole time.
Cecil says he's grateful to the sheriff and all those involved in the recovery, but wonders why it took so long to bring his daughter home. Has it ever made you angry?
Oh yeah. I guess I stayed angry for, a lot of years.
What do you say to those folks who say those guys dropped the ball?
We're all human. We all make mistakes. Best we can do is learn from those mistakes and just keep moving forward.
Sheriff Page has asked deputies to revisit past cases with a new perspective. He knows some things may have been missed over time, but it's his hope that departments across the country can learn from this lesson. That sometimes the answers are much closer to home than we once thought.
It was a case, it was near and dear to everybody's heart. It still is today.
This was the car after they had done pulled it out of the river. Y'all, over 20 years. Over 20 years. I can't imagine what their family is feeling. Yeah, they're probably feeling a little bit of closure. But however, y'all, I just can't imagine. This is an article by the Washington Post that was posted December 10th, 2021. Ronnie heard his son's voice for the last time around 9 p.m. on April 3rd in 2000. Jeremy called to ask his father for a ride the next day, but when Ronnie arrived, Jeremy was nowhere to be found. Jeremy's friend Erin was also missing. Her brother Will was probably one of the last people to see her. Erin, 18, and Jeremy, 17, picked up Will from an arcade that night and dropped him off at home before they headed to a party. Erin never returned. Now, for the next 2 decades, both families relived those final days on a loop, trying to piece together what could have happened that night and holding out hope that the 2 friends would one day return home. As they attempted to cope with the lingering mystery, their neighbors in Sparta, a small town in central Tennessee, whispered rumors and steered investigators in wrong directions. They were murdered. Some said, no, they ran away to Florida. I heard they were involved in a drug operation gone awry. The theories were finally silenced earlier in December when Jeremy Sides, a scuba diving YouTuber who solves cold cases, called White County Sheriff Steve Page to report that after diving in a local river, he had found Aaron's car with human remains inside. I was in doubt until I got there and ran the tags. Page, who took office in 2018, said in an interview with the Washington Post, I made a promise to the Foster family that as long as I was sheriff, I'd be looking for these 2 kids. I did. I have. Now the 2 families are grappling with grief and closure. How they reframe the narratives that ran through their minds for so many years. Jeremy and Erin were not brutally murdered. They did not run away. It was probably just a freak accident. It's like losing them all over again, Ronnie, Jeremy's father, told the Post. It just shattered my heart again. We always kind of thought through the years that something happened, but I just didn't know what. A resident of Acworth, Georgia, a northwestern suburb of Atlanta, Sides never intended to make videos about solving cold cases or finding lost items. He began playing around with a metal detector as a side hobby while running his automotive business, but he had a knack for finding missing or stolen items, so he got more ambitious, learning to scuba dive and eventually diving for cars and then missing people. I thought, I wonder if I can figure out a way to make a living doing it, Sides told the Post. He started documenting his adventures on YouTube in 2016 on his channel Exploring with Nug, a nickname his co-workers gave him because he was metal detecting for gold nuggets. He eventually made enough money off the videos to hand over his business to a friend and focus on the searches full time. Sides, who now has more than 120,000 subscribers, finds his targets on a website that lists cold cases, noting that he looks for awkward cases, specifically ones of people who vanished off the planet and vanished in their cars. Cars don't just disappear, Sides said. 9 times out of 10, they're in the water. He found Aaron and Jeremy's case just a few weeks ago. Now, this was in December. Toward the end of November, he snuck into Sparta without telling anyone of his objectives. He didn't want to get anyone's hopes up. Sides surveyed rivers and lakes in and around town using the side scan sonar. Page first got wind of Sides' search after a foster family member asked the sheriff in church one Sunday night if he'd seen the video about Aaron and Jeremy. Sides said he was unsuccessful, but noted he'd come back to Sparta in a few weeks to try again. After watching the video, the sheriff realized that Sides was using technology the department didn't have access to, so he reached out and offered to work with the amateur investigator. Page suggested Sides look into Calf Killer River, which runs along Highway 84 in town. The sheriff said he recently found a missing persons report from 2000 that had been misfiled. It shed more light on the teens' whereabouts that night and indicated they drove down that road. Sides returned to the area November 30th and soon spotted a car in the river. He returned the next day for the dive, confirming it was a Pontiac Grand Am and detaching the license plate to bring back to the surface. The numbers and letters matched the ones of the missing teen's car. I don't have an easy way to say it, Sides told Page in his YouTube video after the dive, but I found them. Over the next several hours, the sheriff's office worked to extract the remains from the car from the river, one that Page has driven by countless times. They suspect the teens lost control of the Pontiac and went into the water. There was no guardrail along the road in 2000. We have gone in wells, dug up areas. We have used ground-penetrating equipment looking for bodies, Page said, but it was right under our nose the whole time. It's heart-wrenching to know it was that simple, and it was made that hard because of all the rumors and horror stories through the years. The medical examiner's office has not yet confirmed the remains belong to Aaron and Jeremy, but Page is confident the findings will prove they were in the car. On the evening of April 3rd, 2000, Jeremy went with Aaron to a party in a rural part of town, Page said. Their parents suspected something was off when the two weren't home the next morning. Cecil, Aaron's father, was out of town for work that night, but assured his wife Leanne that Aaron would probably be back in a few days. After a week, the foster family called police. From the start, law enforcement fumbled the investigation. Page and the families agreed. They never searched Aaron or Jeremy's rooms and didn't bring their friends from the party into the station for questioning, Ronnie said. But rumors spread rapidly around town so fast that law enforcement got derailed following leads that didn't make sense to the family. Some people claimed to have spotted the teens, while others said they were killed and seen in the back of a truck with blood coming out the back, Cecil said. But the families never believed the teens ran away. They had good relationships with their parents and no reason to skip town. They didn't have any money. Aaron didn't even have a toothbrush, Cecil, 65, said in an interview with the Post. People could be cruel sometimes, he added. Leanne quit her job because people were constantly talking about the case, Cecil said. The couple, who have been married for 42 years, have kept to themselves for the past 2 decades and coped in different ways. Cecil said he took medication to calm his nerves and turned to drinking to wash the troubles away. Both families become accustomed to growing hopeful about leads only to be disappointed. Ronnie said he believed the stress and worry took a toll on Jeremy's mother. She died 4 years ago of cancer. Now that's heartbreaking right there. But at least she's with her son. So when Sides entered the picture, they couldn't believe the nightmare they lived for 21 years was finally coming to an end. Now we just have to deal with losing this glimmer of hope that we've had, that they may have been alive somewhere. Now we're sure they're not, Cecil said, so it's a different hurt. There's something different about it. I just can't explain it. Sides left town before the families could thank him in person. Cecil and Ronnie said they hoped to speak to him soon. I was very humbled that I could just help out, Sides said. I would like to think the police did what they could, but this one just slipped through the cracks. As a thank you to the sheriff, Cecil and Leanne gave Aaron's license plate to Paige. They believed in me, and I would never give up, and I didn't, and it worked, Paige said. It meant so much to them and so much to me. These are my people. The families plan to have separate funerals, but a joint memorial service to celebrate Jeremy and Aaron's short lives. GoFundMe pages have been set up to help with the cost. Ronnie is thankful for a sense of closure. I can bury my son, he said. I've prayed that if he's not on this earth, that he's with Jesus and with Mama. And there's no doubt they've all seen him by now and know what's happened.